what they will do next, or have they already made up their mind? Wisconsin Senator Ron Johnson sits on the House Appropriations Subcommittee for Health and Human Services. He's got a rich business background. That rode him right into his position today. Senator Johnson, predictions on outcome first.
Well, good morning, Brian. Well, we really don't know. Obviously, what I hope happens is the Supreme Court rules the law unconstitutional and wipes it all off the slate so we can start over. Put individuals back in control of their health care. And
if they do wipe it out, what do Republicans do next? Because a lot of people, even though 49% of the country want it out, 39% want it to stay, they're still going to look to Republicans to replace it.
Sure. Well, first of all, we put individuals back in charge of their own health care. I think you restore state leadership in this area, not federal government. What you won't see from Republicans is a 2,700-page bill, 12,000 new pages of rules and regulations, and you really see basically a step-by-step approach, taking a look at every last one of these issues, trying to restore free market discipline back into the healthcare marketplace. Allow people to buy insurance across state lines, really take a look at the cost of defensive medicine, try and reform our tort system. Those types of things that would actually start restraining the growth in costs so that Americans can actually realize lower healthcare costs.
What's your greatest, outside, of course, you're against it, you wish it didn't happen, but if they just strike the mandate down, what would your greatest concern be then?
Well, even the Democrats said that without the mandate, so much of the provisions of the health care law simply don't make sense, and it just simply is not workable. So I really do think if the mandate gets struck down, the entire law should go. And regardless of what the Supreme Court does, Republicans, certainly Governor Romney, is absolutely dedicated to full repeal, and that's what's so important about the upcoming election.
And Senator, everybody knows about your rich business background. What would it do for business tomorrow, the next day, to have some certainty either way?
Well, this is certainly one really large component of the high level of uncertainty in the business community, because people just simply don't know, what they need to do to comply with, what the costs of health care are going to be. It'd be one component. But, Brian, this administration has shackled small businesses with all kinds of other rules and regulations that are just ramping up that level of uncertainty. Right. So, a new attitude in America, basically like in Wisconsin, Scott Walker said, Wisconsin's open for business. It'd be pretty helpful if the President of the United States would say, you know what, America's open for business. We actually want to make America an attractive place for business investment and job creation. Take a whole different attitude than what this administration is providing.
And Senator, the same study that Fox News did showed that 47% want some modest reform. Well, what is modest reform, the Republican version of modest reform?
Well, again, I think you really take a look at what are the real cost drivers. And Brian, I've seen studies that show the cost of defensive medicine anywhere from $250 billion to $750 billion per year. You start addressing the real cost drivers of healthcare, and that's one of them. Again, put free market disciplines back into the system. Things like HSAs, allowing people to buy insurance across state lines. It's, again, the free market is a marvelous thing in terms of controlling costs. It just has been absent from healthcare for far too long.
Senator, I look forward to talking to you afterwards. The decision's supposed to come down about 10:15 Eastern time, and then everything changes and everyone's affected. Senator Ron Johnson, thanks so much.
Keep your fingers crossed.